I am a immigrant, a woman, a brown girl. I speak with an accent. There's nothing no one can say to me or use as an excuse as the reason why they're stuck. Because if they didn't apply to me, they don't apply to you. Do you have the balls to make something of your life?
Welcome to Inside the Drive, the podcast that takes you inside Rolls-Royce and gives you insight behind the drive of the accomplished entrepreneurs who commission them. Today's guest is the founder and CEO of X5 Naturals, founder and COO of 1031 Crowdfunding, author, wife, mother of three, and avid car enthusiast. Ruth Fernandez possesses a unique talent as a corporate strategist, specializing in building robust infrastructure for businesses. Ruth, welcome to Inside the Drive. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
It's my pleasure. Ruth, you have accomplished so much. Tell me what motivates you.
What motivates me, honestly, is to fulfill my purpose. And I know that for some people that looks different, but for me what motivates me is to fulfill my God-given purpose and what I'm supposed to do while I'm here. That's literally what drives me, because nobody can do what I do and in the way that I do it.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Can you share more on what is your purpose?
First and foremost is to be the best wife I can possibly be. That is my number one priority. 2, to raise the healthiest, non-entitled children I can, which is difficult in this climate. But honestly, to serve. I have a relentless spirit of servanthood. And I think that that's the core of even being an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur, and at the end of the day, is a relentless pursuit of servanthood. So that's literally what motivates me.
What's the first car you bought?
Ever?
Yes, ever. Your very first car.
It was a 15-year-old Mustang that used to break down every other light.
What color?
It was red.
Red?
I had to have a red car. Yeah, it was a Mustang.
Amazing. What is the first luxury car you bought?
A Ferrari. Wow. Yeah, we got a California Ferrari.
Was it red as well?
No. Oh, yeah, that was red.
Okay.
Yeah, it was red.
What was your first introduction to Rolls-Royce?
Oh, my gosh. Rolls-Royce has always been the goal ever since I was little. I don't know why. I don't know where I saw Rolls-Royce, but I saw a lifestyle that when I was so broke, that's what I wanted. And that was the goal. So I knew I wanted a Rolls-Royce my entire life. I don't know where, but I knew I saw it somewhere, and that's what I wanted.
Was your first Rolls-Royce the Dawn?
It was.
I feel very honored then.
It was.
Now we're on to your third.
Yes.
Which is awesome. How would you describe the feeling of that first drive in your Dawn?
You know what? I remember driving it, and I remember feeling this intense sense of not just gratitude, but it was a marker in my life. It was a marker where you did it. And I cannot tell you, I know exactly what I was wearing. I know exactly where I was. In that moment, looking at the car, driving it, remembering and thinking, I always wanted this. And here I am. And again, this overwhelming sense of gratitude. And it was a pivotal moment in my life for sure.
How would you describe your style, and how is that reflected in the commission of your Ghost?
I mean, twins.
Pretty much. Yes, exactly.
Twins.
Yes.
I'm related to Batman, so it's fine. It's fine.
See, I learn something new about you every time we get together.
Classic, gorgeous, simple, intimidating, but not really. Kind of like a gray white shark. That's how I dress, and that's how I pick my cars. I want a boy car. I never want a girl car.
This is a 2023 Rolls-Royce Black Badge Ghost in iced gunmetal with mandarin interior and painted brake calipers to match. In 2023, Rolls-Royce limited the bespoke ice paint application to 11 Ghosts globally. This is one of only 5 Ghosts released in the United States with iced paint. This model features a 6.6-liter V12 engine, which delivers 603 horsepower and 620 pound-per-foot of torque. Some key features include the illuminated grille, dark chrome Spirit of Ecstasy, and Shooting Star headliner. After delivery was taken, our guest today added her own personal touch to the car with 24-inch wheels. Was there a certain goal that you set for yourself before you decided to move forward with commissioning a Rolls-Royce?
Yes. So I raised my children for 18 years, and then I came out of retirement to help my husband because he was growing so fast. And I remember once we hit a threshold of revenue, I was like, okay, it's time. But I always wanted to spec my car from top to bottom. So when you gave me the opportunity, I was like, oh, heck yes. That thing is going to be mine all the way. And every stitch, I mean, everything is super intentional with that car. But that was probably a reward dream that I had for myself. And then when I did it, I was like, okay, Lord, you got me.
So then, is it fair to say that this is your favorite spec out of your 3 Rolls-Royces?
Yes.
Okay.
1,000%. Yes.
You have X5 Naturals. Can you share with us what that is, what the company is, and what inspired you to found the company?
Yes. So my mother always says whenever there's a challenge, God always brings you an opportunity. And I was diagnosed with 4 autoimmune diseases when I was pregnant with my last pregnancy.
Wow.
And I created this little recipe that I was giving it for free to my blog people all over the world. Well, it got to the point where my husband's like, why don't you bottle that and sell it? So out of my own challenge, I gave birth to not just a child, but also a company. And that's how X5 Naturals was born.
That's amazing. You immigrated here from Mexico. You grew up in extreme poverty. And now you are the founder and COO of 1031 Crowdfunding, which is a multi-billion-dollar company. So I have to go back to you being an author, right? And in your book, Prosperity is Not Luck, It's Your Birthright, you share that coming from where I came from, someone who was born in extreme poverty, I was never supposed to be where I am today. That is such a powerful statement. Can you please share why you feel like you aren't supposed to be where you are today?
It's not that I never thought that I was supposed to be. I always knew I didn't belong there, if that makes sense. I always saw myself here. One thing that I think the Lord put in me was that I have never been defined by my circumstances because I know they're temporary. So I've been poor. I don't like it. Try that. Didn't work for me. So I guess the best advice for anyone coming from a background that I came from is that you cannot be bound by your environment or circumstances, because at the moment that you embrace your circumstances, then you're a victim of them. And I refuse to be a victim in any regard, in any situation. So if I have a goal, if I have a dream, my circumstances do not define the drive. Does that make sense?
That's so powerful. If you had to say, what's one characteristic about yourself that makes you such a successful entrepreneur?
Diligence.
Yeah.
I would say diligence. I'm very steady Eddie. I'm very, I am not an overreactor. And I think that people being even killed, I think it's a skill that is not usually advertised. People think that for you to be an entrepreneur, you have to have highs, lows, and you have to be a dictator, and you got to have it your way, and you got to do all of the things. I think that the most successful entrepreneurs are the ones that are able to maintain their internal thermometer, per se.
Okay.
To be able to rationalize. The minute you spike, you lose control of yourself and you lose control of wisdom. And for me, when I say I am diligent in staying constant, is because I do not want to be overpowered by emotion.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah. So I think, if anything, that will be probably the biggest quality that I have. I will entertain, I will host wisdom at any cost.
I was watching your interview on your husband, the Ed Fernandez show, and you talked about in 2008, you guys lost everything.
Mm.
Your house, your cars. How did you come back from that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, some people wouldn't come back from that. So can you share with us, what did you do? What did you do differently this time?
I think that at that time when we lost everything, it was probably the best thing that could have happened to us. And I say that because it resetted priorities for us. You know, there's no secret. I love God. I am a woman of faith. I drive my entire life on principles that I follow. Prior to that, I think I got caught up in the lifestyle, in the keeping up, in the so-and-so has it, so I got to have better. I think that we over-leveraged ourselves so much for the sake of looking and appearing successful that it was literally building on air, if that makes sense. The next time around, I think what we did different was that we created from a place of purpose. Okay, so what's our purpose? What's the blueprint? What are we doing? What are we going to be known for? What's the legacy part of what we're going to build now that we get to start from scratch? And that's what I mean by, I think it was a great reset internally and also spiritually for us, because we were able to build 1031 crowdfunding, X5, DNS, and all the things that we've done from a place of purpose versus a place of keeping up. Does that make sense?
I love that.
Yeah. So that's how we did it.
For the level of success you have, you're incredibly gracious. You are so grounded. But is there something in particular that keeps you grounded?
It goes back to God. I have this say, I own nothing, He owns everything, but I have access to all of it. And that's how I live life. I'm just grateful that I'm able to experience and have access to what God has for me, that there's nothing can compare to that.
What would you say what's the best advice you've ever received and implemented?
Ruth, why not you? I think that changed my life, because why not me?
I'm going to start like a log of like Ruth quotes that I'm going to use for my Instagram.
Why my friend Kathy calls it Ruthisms.
I love it.
But it's true. It's why not you?
Yeah. What's the worst advice you've ever received?
You're fine just the way you are.
If you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Go for it. Do not compromise. Set good boundaries for yourself.
Okay. You are a mother of 3.
Mm-hmm.
You have a son and 2 daughters. Would you encourage your daughters to be entrepreneurs knowing what you know?
I think that this is the misconception for me. I don't think everyone is called to be an entrepreneur. I think that entrepreneurship is an anointing and it's a calling that you have over your life. I think there's intrapreneurs and entrepreneurs. And there's a huge difference. You can create while somebody else is funding their vision. An entrepreneur is the one that lays it all on the line and says, you know what? I'm going to step out of the boat and I'm going to burn the boat, and whatever happens, happens. Not that many people can carry that type of courage. And I think that that's what separates. And I think that that's also the misconception of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is so attached to a lifestyle, but not many are equipped to carry it. Does that make sense?
It does. So with everything that you do, how do you balance being a wife, a mother, an entrepreneur, running the businesses that you run? Because it's not just one, you run multiple businesses.
There's no balance. You take from Peter to pay Paul. There's whoever tells you that they have a balance is not true. My husband and I, our entire conversations revolve around we're creating an ecosystem. And an ecosystem, if you think about it like in a coral reef, you always have to be rotating and circulating, making sure that a part of the reef is not dying and is getting the proper light and nutrition and all of that. When you run the companies that we run, we're constantly rotating, talking about it. How can we improve this? How can we improve that? Our children are involved in these conversations. I honestly don't think that you can properly balance if you're a true entrepreneur, because the entire being of who you are revolves around creating.
But I'm still trying to figure out how you do it all.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you have like a great team behind you? How do you empower other people? Because obviously you can't be everywhere at once, right? So is it important that you build a team and empower those individuals to make decisions on your behalf, or how does that work?
I hire for my weaknesses.
Okay.
And I focus on my strengths. And for my husband, I do the same. I hire for his weaknesses and I empower his strengths. He's the visionary, right? And I have to build a team that comes underneath him so that we can fulfill his vision. And I think it's a system that has worked really well for us, because I know what I'm really good at, but I also know my deficiencies.
Sure.
So in that space, I'm able to hire people that are supplementing my weaknesses. And when they do that, I praise the heck out of them because they serve a purpose that I could never fulfill. So it makes them feel good about what they're doing, and it makes me more productive.
What's the most important lesson you've learned over your career?
To not be emotional. I cannot be emotional about people. I can't be emotional about success or failure. I have to, everything is a lesson. And if I see it in that way, then something good always comes out of it. I used to take people quitting on me as a personal rejection. And then I came to realize people move on, people have seasons, but I don't have to take that personal or be emotional about it.
Right. At what point in your career do you think that you learned that?
I would say the last 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah, the last 3, we grew 400% plus, right, in 1 year. And it was such a rapid growth in all of our businesses that I had to create systems that would allow the expansion and everything that we were doing at the pace that we were doing it with the team that I had. So I had to be very intentional about where my focus was.
Right.
And at times it can't be the business, it has to be the people.
What do you think it was that propelled you to that next level, right? So you grew 400%. I mean, that is amazing. What do you think it was that drove that?
I got a revelation of what my purpose is. And my purpose is to edify and build.
Okay.
So I edify the people and I build the business. And it's so easy to edify the people in their strengths, comfort their weaknesses, and be in relation with your employee. My employees are the shoulders we stand on. So they are very, very important to me. How I handle my team, they're my number one focus, because I know I have very talented people that at times come to work for me from a very disappointed, broken space, and they have been mishandled. So my goal, the reason why I have such an amazing team, is because I make them a priority.
That's amazing.
And then they make me a priority.
Yes. That's amazing that you value your people. Mm-hmm. That speaks a lot to your character.
I do.
In your opinion, what is the most important personality trait that you believe someone would need to be successful?
Servanthood. If you don't have servanthood, you can be the smartest person in the entire world. If you don't serve, by default, you forfeited your gifting. So you will be inactive.
As a woman, I need you to elaborate on how you are able to manage motherhood, being a wife, having a career. I have a 10-year-old son.
Yeah.
You have 3 children.
Yes. You
have a husband.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you manage that all?
Yes. My number one priority is my husband. It's my number one priority. After that is my children. So again, I have a 25-year-old, I have a 21-year-old daughter, and a 14-year-old daughter. Being able to be present when they're in front of me is very, very important. And I think that it's not about the time, it's about the quality of time that you spend with your children. And mind you, I fail at this often. So I'm not gonna tell you that I have it all worked out and it's all perfect. I struggle with being present because I have 20,000 things going on in my brain.
Right.
But I have become more intentional. When my 21-year-old daughter talks to me, I have to look at her. I have to be in the moment. I have to sympathize. I have to be emotional. I have to be accessible.
Right.
Yeah, I got to do all the things. When my 14-year-old daughter comes to me, talks about her, mind you, I hate musicals. All she wants to talk about is musicals. Okay, so I have to be present in the moment, interested in doing all the things. Right. My son just had a baby, so I'm a grandma.
Congratulations.
Best thing ever.
Yes.
So being able to, now parent him as him being a parent,
right,
which is a completely different dynamic. So being present for him and accessible for him when he needs those parent questions, I think we think about balance or being a good parent in a time span, right. But I think I can spend 15, 20 minutes with each and every one of my children and give them intentionality and give them my attention. And I think that's good enough sometimes. I don't have to be there for 3 months cooking meals and cleaning the house for them to feel loved. I think conversational and being intentional with me being present, I think that is something that is very important for my children.
So I personally struggle with, I'm a single mom, and it's hard for me because when I am home with my son, I'm always trying to create and still trying to generate and, further my career. So I find it really hard to balance being present when I'm at home because I'm still trying to do a million other things, or I have clients that need things, or calling. Or do you feel like there was a certain point, or would you give me advice on like how to be able to separate the two? Because it's just something that I really struggle with.
Because I know you the way I know you, and I know I can only sympathize with you being a single mom and needing to provide, needing to be accessible for your clients. Because at the end of the day, right, I will say this, date your son.
Okay.
Yeah. Date him. Make sure that you put on your calendar, these days, this is what I'm doing. And if you make him part of the process,
right,
I think that he will be super, super excited and gracious to you when he knows exactly what you're doing. Because sometimes as parents, we think that by me providing and doing everything I can to provide for you is me loving you. But if you make them part of the process of you providing for them, then you shut close for the enemy to tell them lies.
Sure.
You're not wanted. You're neglected. She doesn't care. All of the stupid things that the devil will tell them, you shut those doors down by making him part of the process.
I love that.
Yeah. And that's what I did. I mean, that's what I do. Mind you, again, I'm not perfect by no means, but my heart and my intentionality is to make them part of, this is a business. You and I are building a business, and I need your grace for it. And I think that children are so resilient, and they want to be part of whatever it is that you're doing. That is, I feel like if your son was part of the process, whatever it is that you will be feeling as far as guilt and not being there would completely be gone.
I love that. So going back, you said that you were doing your best to not raise entitled children, right?
Right.
I feel you on that. Mm-hmm. So my son literally thinks it's normal to go to Nobu on a weekly basis and order 2 steaks or eat at Javier's every night.
Yeah.
So how do you try to normalize, or how do you try to keep your children grounded so that they're not entitled?
Mm-hmm. It's very difficult. Very difficult. My 14-year-old daughter, she's like, what do you mean people go to the airport and wait online and
take off their shoes?
And take off their shoes. Like, what is happening?
Right.
It just, we work so hard so that our children didn't have to, that I think it was also a setup for us to create a generation of entitled children by default. Because by giving them so much, and all the things we didn't have, we gave to our children, that they have no concept of what a hustle is.
Right. And
so going back to your question, I make them work as much as I can. You have this job, you have this job, this is your responsibility, this is how we're going to do it. But it's very difficult to not have children that are not used to or accustomed to a lifestyle that we have provided for them without them having some type of entitlement. It's just not going to happen. But for my children, I just try to keep them grounded in the Word of God. We are privileged to be able to have the lifestyle that we have because of Him. Not because of me, but because of the favor that is on my life, and because the way that we serve God. He said, if you do this, everything else will be added onto you. All I have to do, this is what I tell my children, all you have to do is serve God, love God in the best way you can, so that everything your heart desires will be given to you because you put Him first. That is the only thing that I can tell you that I do. I don't have the secret sauce to create non-entitled children. I know. But I have to keep them grounded on who God says they are and who God is in their life.
So going back to you make them work, what does that look like?
Our kids work for us.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, they don't, they earn their paycheck.
That's good.
Mind you, they're overpaid. Let's keep it real. Our children are overpaid. Right. But they have to know the business. They have to see, if anything, my prayer is that they see how hard their father and their mother work to create an ecosystem to be a blessing to other people. Not to us, but to other people. We have families that depend on us. We have families that depend on us showing up, being right with God, having our heart intent in check. People depend on us for that. I want to put that in them where everything that you do is not about you. It's about how can you serve humanity? How can you serve others instead of serving you? By default, success will happen if you serve.
Right.
So that's just kind of how my husband and I do life.
Would you be disappointed if your children didn't want to continue with the empire that you've built, right? So you've built all these businesses, and if they decided we want to do something else, would that disappoint you?
Absolutely not.
No?
Because God made them for a purpose. It's not my purpose. It's God's purpose who I want them to fulfill. This was my purpose.
Right.
My husband and I did what we were called to do. I can sell it tomorrow, and my husband and I can go to Europe and be there for 3 years and hang out. Right. Like we already did our part.
Right.
Like when I see my Creator, He's gonna say, "Well done, you faithful servant." I want them to have that same conviction that I have. I could sell my businesses tomorrow. It has nothing to do with my children.
Okay.
Yeah.
What makes you happy today versus what made you happy 10 years ago?
You know, and it goes back to purpose. Knowing the lane you're supposed to be in, knowing the timing of what you're doing. For me, being perfectly synchronized with the will of God in my life, that's what I live for. So for me, knowing that I'm in God's perfect will is what brings me happiness now. Before, it was like, as long as we're good, as long as everybody's good, as long as so-and-so thinks I'm this, that, and the other, then I'm good. Now I couldn't care less about that. Now it's about fulfilling the calling in my life, fulfilling the purpose and why I'm here on this earth for the time that I'm here. That brings me joy every single day.
Do you ever feel that you were judged because of the materialistic or material items that you have?
Always.
How do you deal with that?
I don't.
And does it matter?
I don't care.
Good for you.
Yeah, no, I don't, because I know the intent of my heart. I know the work that I've done. I know the sleepless nights that I spend on my knees seeking God's face. I've been a victim of betrayal by friends. I've been a victim of betrayal by church. I've been a victim of stereotypes. Listen, I am a immigrant, a woman, a brown girl. I speak with an accent. There's nothing no one can say to me or use as an excuse as the reason why they're stuck. Because if they didn't apply to me, they don't apply to you. Do you have the balls to make something of your life?
Right.
And to work hard and to have integrity and to do things in the way that you're supposed to be doing instead of being victimized by your environment?
I'm like so just empowered by you right now. Ruth, you are truly an incredible individual.
Oh,
and I feel very honored and blessed to know you.
Thank
and just
you.
to even be in your presence and to be able to even learn from you. And I know when you and your husband Ed come into my office and I'll be like, what are you guys up to? What are you doing? Yeah. What does that mean? What does that term mean, Ed?
Yeah.
What is that? How does that work?
Yeah.
It's so incredible to know you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I mean, and I feel, my husband and I feel the same way about you. I think you are an amazing human. I think that your son is so proud of you. I think that you're overthinking what he would think. He would be so, so, so proud of everything you've done and accomplished.
Thank you so much. If you could be remembered for one thing, what would you want it to be?
She was kind.
You are kind. So you've done that. I have to go back for one more quote in your book. It says, "Grace is both grit and guts."
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Yeah.
And you literally are a perfect example of that.
Thank you.
And I just want to thank you so much for being here. And thank you for inspiring me and everyone else who gets to watch this podcast. But I just want to thank you.
Thank you for being such a blessing. You're honestly So amazing, and thank you for having me. It's been amazing to do this with you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.